What's going on, guys? And today we're talking about No Man's Sky lore.
Hey,
Finally.
Tom! Yo, Tom!
Yeah?
Hold on. Hey, Tom. Hey, it's me, Steven, from No Man's Sky Gamer. I heard that you're doing this video on No Man's Sky lore. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, I just heard about this, and I totally had to be a part of this.
How'd you get in here?
Let's not go into the details. It's all minor. We know that there's wormholes inside of No Man's Sky. That's all I'm going to really go into.
Yeah, forgot about that.
I'm excited to be here, by the way. Thank you so much for
Oh,
having
yeah.
me part of the show.
This is No Man's Sky Gamer if you guys have no idea who he is. If you want to check out his channel, everything's down below. Also say this at the end of it, so just in case you forget, it will be down there. Don't worry. So today we're talking about No Man's Sky lore and what we've come up with.
There's definitely things that we've seen. We know that there's been some conversation with Sean Murray and there was actually a video from them about the lore of this game. And there is no doubt there is some degree of lore. Obviously, each of us as players have our own unique story, but at the same time, what else have they included already as sort of a side arc? You've heard about this comic book coming out, correct? With the release of No Man's Sky inside of the little booklet?
Briefly heard about it, because through the ever extensive digging that I do of No Man's Sky, nowhere near your extent though, I did come across it. You probably know way more about it than me though.
I can shed a little bit of light into it. There's not a lot of details around it, but basically it's a little adventure of a trader who had some valuable cargo. Something happens to the character and as well as their cargo. And this is going to be written by James Swallow. Dave Gibbons is the author and illustrator of this comic book. We know that the story is a survival story of someone that was shipwrecked on a planet. Unfriendly aliens are chasing after them. The main character is trying to fix their ship and get off the planet. This definitely reminds me of what we've seen in the gameplay footage. As we go out and explore these planets, we have to go venture out. I know that when we start off in No Man's Sky, your little space pod that you get isn't really equipped to handle much, so we're going to have to go out and venture and get our new ship to really go out and do the hyperdrive type stuff. So
Right.
it fits in with the comic book concept to me.
That's like your own story. But in No Man's Sky, there's going to be tons of stories. For example, we have, just to list a few, there's the Atlas that we have no idea about. So we'll be covering these later in the video. There's also the races. Each individual race has their own story behind it, definitely. They're not just going to be putting in a race. You're going to have to actually maybe even find out the history of the race. Maybe through uncovering the language, you can actually talk to them, learn more about them, and this all goes into the lore. There's also space pirates that we've briefly talked about together. Space stations, the list goes on.
Center of the galaxy.
Center of the galaxy.
Being
Sentinels.
alone.
Yes. Build your own story is also the main thing I usually say, which kind of is lore, but kind of isn't. Also, each individual person is going to have their own different experiences, so everyone's lore is going to be different.
That's what I love about this game. It could have been so easy for the developers to restrict it in the sense where a lot of players were put together and you have the multiplayer feature set up, but they decided not to do that. It is your own journey, your own story. I really like that aspect of this game.
Exactly. It's just a beautiful idea.
If there was some sort of a lore behind it, though, why would we be alone?
But you just drop into a galaxy out of nowhere. Is there a reason why you're there? Is there a reason for you to actually do something to get towards the center of the universe? To not get to the center of the universe? Survive?
I saw a trailer, and I think it was the PlayStation UK trailer, if I remember correctly, but they had a voiceover actor come in for this trailer of No Man's Sky. When
really
you
strange.
include a voiceover actor, it gives me some level of a story. And I'm thinking, when this game is released, as soon as you turn on the game, I know that with the procedural generation, there are key moments. And one of the things that was mentioned by Paul Weir, I think I pronounced his last name right,
I don't think it really
was
matters.
that like a moment is your first sort of introduction to the planet itself. So are we going to see some sort of a cutscene? Is there going to be some sort of an audio overlap that gives us this introduction to where we're at? Or are you just you okay? Microphone smacky?
No, I hit my knee on the desk.
Oh, I heard that. That was loud.
Yeah. It's the wonderful thing about me recording is that I'll just end up doing random shit.
That's okay.
Some
These
videos I
are the
even
best
drop my
moments,
phone.
though. So do you think when we land on our first planet, you're going to smack your knee on something right off the bat?
Um,
And
that's
that's
one
your
of the things
wake-up
I'm
call.
gonna find out. I'll definitely drop my phone a couple of times.
Just don't drop it in the
It will
toilet.
happen. I don't know why I'll drop it in the toilet. I think you have, right?
No, I actually haven't. Surprisingly, I almost never drop my phone for anything. I have a screen protector for it, and I never really needed to use it.
I could literally play a clip right now of me dropping my phone in like a video maybe 2 weeks ago.
That
Yeah.
is funny.
I probably have to go find it.
So when we start off on a planet in No Man's Sky, we're obviously by ourselves, but at the same time, we're not completely alone because we will encounter alien races, like you said,
Yep.
sentinels, there's traders, the space pirates. We have some level of activity that we could participate with each of them. And what I think is really interesting too is how you mentioned the scope of the planet. It's so big, we could actually spend our entire life on this planet, and with the factions, if we befriend them, we learn their languages, we're essentially accepted into them. And the closest thing I can think of is along the lines of Avatar. Like, you just become one of their kind. You may
You
not
prefer
look like
being
them.
them.
Yeah. So, I mean, theoretically, you don't have to reach the center of the galaxy. That's just one aspect, right? They said that that has some level of accomplishment,
That's what
it has
he
some
wants you
reward
to
type
do.
things. Yeah. And it's put there as an option. And if we spend our entire life on the one planet, that's our story with whatever faction. And they were saying that your story is only done in No Man's Sky when you finally put down the game and you don't play it anymore. That's your last page. And that's different for everybody.
Everyone's playthrough is going to be completely different, which is amazing because if someone goes and sees your playthrough of it, your first planet, completely different than my first planet. Also, races we see, completely different. The stories we make, obviously, like we said, everyone's going to have their own story.
Why do you think we're alone, though?
I don't know. I arguably next to one of the biggest questions in No Man's Sky. That I honestly think that we're the only people that have actually questioned.
So here's my thoughts on being alone inside of No Man's Sky. I think, personally, it has a significant role. With our knowledge of survival, Clear Age being older as well, we had to have been in some sort of environment to where others have surrounded us. And, you know, a big reason for this is we learn languages. We have to be old enough in order to pick up on these languages. So what happened to the rest of them? Where is everybody else? Or did we choose this path ourselves? Also, we have to start on a planet, not a main planet, not a central station, a random planet. That is where our first memories are formed. Could we be each this science experiment from some higher being randomly spread across the galaxy? Or did something happen to us that caused us to lose our memories?
I like that big person looking down upon you like some big scientific experiment.
Yeah, I keep thinking that these sentinels, right? They are all over the
I
universe.
remember this that you told me. Your theory about the Sentinels just makes perfect sense.
Okay, so my theory is, guys, we know that there are these robots sent out by Hello Games throughout the game to check for bugs and errors inside of No Man's Sky. My theory is that the Sentinels we encounter are those machines. They are actively producing results of any kind of error script and feeding it back to Hello Games in real time while we are in that environment. That is my theory of sort of like a background history of the Sentinels. And any of that information, when I think about information storage, Tom, I keep thinking of the Atlas. Do you
Yes.
think that there's a relationship of a lore between the Atlas and the Sentinels?
If we go along with your theory, absolutely. Atlas is the one containing all the information, but it also leads to more questions as to what's the point of having that in the game physically. Sean Murray has said it actually is in the game, you can actually go and find it. What would that lead us to actually want to find it? Is there even a point to finding it?
There has to be some point to finding it. A theory I've also heard, which again, a lot of this is speculation, right, guys? But a theory I've heard is that the Atlas is located at the center of the galaxy. And this is why I personally believe that that is an option. Because imagine, we name these planets, we name these creatures, all for what? For our own satisfaction? Yeah, to some degree. But at the same time, they're there because if another player came across and found your discovery, they would see what you named it. They would see the name of the planet, they would see the name of the creatures, right? This is all given as long as you have uploaded it to the atlas. But what are the odds of somebody discovering this planet? It's extremely small, right? And they did confirm we were a single-player based game in a multiplayer universe. There is theoretically the odds of you running into another player. But if the odds of you running into another player are so small, and about 99.99% of the planets will never be discovered inside of No Man's Sky, what would be the function and the purpose to name a planet or to name creatures for another player to potentially find if 99.99% of 18 quintillion planets will never be discovered? So my belief is that if the Atlas is at the center of the galaxy, it's this storage unit of names of planets and of the creatures. I think it's theoretically possible that could be combined with a black hole and allow players to go out and explore planets and creatures that other players have already discovered.
You think it's going to be a black hole?
I think it's going to be a combination. I think you'll probably see a black hole. It seems the most logical. We do know that in real life, there are black holes at the center of every galaxy. Yes. And so many different sci-fi stories, which I also had covered in my Black Holes video regarding No Man's Sky. We look back in the 1970s and 80s, right? A lot of these dictate that there's black holes at the center of the galaxy. They have different functions, the way they interact with things. And we already know that there's wormholes. The wormholes transport you to another planet in the game. The black holes, what other function would they really have with this? They have some sort of purpose. We know that they are inside of No Man's Sky. If it's combined with the Atlas, it seems like a perfect synergy to me. Storage of information, transportation to some other spot, an increase of likelihood of seeing discoveries other people have made. Like, I would love to find something cool and someone else come and find my planet and explore it. I don't necessarily have to be there, but it would be really fun to have someone see what I've named things.
I think the only flaw with how you're thinking is, not trying to like contradict you, but it's just that if you would actually come across the Atlas and go through and find something that you discovered, the list of the things to go, like, how would you find it's I don't think we even have enough time to cover just how big the list would be of like everyone finding something being uploaded to the Atlas and you going through that information.
It would have to be categorized somehow, and the only realistic way, maybe keywords, hashtags. Ooh. You know, like, so if somebody is looking up Planet Vegeta, right? Because I think there's a good chance that Hello Games knows people like you and me, we're going to be uploading videos of our gameplay on No Man's Sky. Well, we named this planet Planet Vegeta. Let's say you have access to the Atlas. You could maybe do a search for Planet Vegeta because you know that somebody out there created it. And maybe there's also who it's discovered by. So if people know the name of your character, that's how you dictate a little bit better. You're like, all right, I know for sure this is one that someone created. This is all speculation on my end. I think it's possible, and I think it's something that as a game developer you could create, and it wouldn't be too complex. I haven't developed a video game, so I could be completely off on that. But we know that there's something at the center of the galaxy. We know that it unlocks something new. We know that there's black holes. We know that there's the Atlas, and we know that there are Sentinels all over the universe.
Yep, which can also raise a question of, like, who created the Sentinels, going away from you saying that Sentinels were sent out by Sean Murray to investigate, almost like Big Brother looking out after you. The lore of No Man's Sky could be who made the Sentinels. Was there a previous civilization that was so advanced that they were able to spread across all these Sentinels, and now they're missing?
And I love exploring that idea. These Sentinels are on every planet before we get there.
Right.
It's not like we see the Sentinels fly in behind us when we discover a new planet. They're already there. They beat us to the punch.
They're everywhere. All 18, well, not all 18, maybe about 15 quintillion, because some planets just don't harbor anything. On another note, we have the space pirates. They are commonly popping in and causing a bunch of them mayhem and mischief, but from what we've seen so far, they're only attacking via space. For what reason do they not want to visit the planet's surfaces? Are they trying to hide a secret, or are they physically not capable of doing so? Also, with there being so many, there has to be a common relationship amongst them all. Could they be this game's version of an empire? If so, who is the main leader?
That's a really good question. They definitely are not the good guys. And if they are,
the bad
then
guys?
Everything's been misportrayed to me. Maybe they could be some sort of a rebel, but that wouldn't make any sense. because every planet that they're attacking, you can't say that every single planet you come across that space pirates pop in is bad. It'd be like the entire universe is bad and they're the good guys. I'm sure they would probably perceive it themselves. But yeah, they are everywhere. There has to be some sort of purpose for them being there and a lore behind them, right? So when I think about Star Wars, right, you got the Rebels versus the Empire.
Yep.
And I totally see these space pirates filling that niche very similar to the Empire. They pop in, they do what they want. But you raised a really good question. The only time I've ever seen them is inside their spaceships in space.
Which I didn't even notice before until you brought it up to me before.
And the question is, why don't they get out on the ground? Are they physically not able to? Have we just not seen them do that yet?
Maybe they're not even humans. Maybe they're just robots. They're just ships flying around.
That's a great question. You just made me
Just
think of something.
drones.
What if they are Sentinels that lashed out?
Oh,
So they're part of the same
Why would they
race of
lash
the
out?
Sentinels? That's a really good question. There must be some sort of main function, right, of the Sentinels that are on every planet, and their primary function from what we've seen is to make sure that there's stability, that nothing gets stepped out of line, primarily from us. They're constantly keeping an eye on us.
especially from that one guy who's watching this video who's going to go around killing every single animal and destroying the nature of that planet.
We know you, Joe. We see you.
Joe,
We are-
Bob, any generic guy name.
Oh no, it's for sure going to be Joe.
Also, keep in mind there is 4 races, 1 that we do know, 3 that we don't, and we hardly know anything about the one race that we know. Can you imagine just the history, learning the languages, why the races are there? The information is way too extensive.
Yeah, and these races with their factions, they're fighting one another for some reason, right? There's some cause that is great enough to be able to risk their lives and put it on the line. Is that resources? Is it territory? Is it survival of the fittest, right? Is it
Maybe.
something along those lines? There is some reason why they have issues with one another. And they also have an acceptance. We are an alien to them, and we have the possibility within this game for them to come in and accept us.
It's not possible to be accepted by all races, is it?
I know that some races are going to be easier to befriend than others. Like, there's no set
Right.
mission you go out once you complete that. Hey, you're now part of this faction. There's no set situation for that. It completely varies, and it's a combination going out, doing, aiding them if they're being attacked by another faction,
Also
learning
going to be
parts of their
completely different
languages.
circumstances. Everyone's game's going to be different planets that are being attacked, different types of variations in the races, because not all factions are the same.
Something I've noticed as well is, I don't know if you noticed this too, but none of the races and the factions seem to have any issues with the Sentinels. I don't see the Sentinels have any issues with them either. So they coexist, and do they have a relationship there?
Maybe we are just a scientific experiment, and this is just a game that we're being played.
Do the Sentinels serve the races?
Because
And if
there's so much more Sentinels than there are people in the races. I would assume that the Sentinels are just previously created by some larger civilization.
that's what I'm wondering too. If, let's say, there's a restriction to 4 races,
Right.
and we find these 4 races all across the universe, again, it's one of those situations like they're already on planets before we show up.
Before they show up, the other races.
And I wonder which ones came first. Was it the Sentinels or the races? If the Sentinels had any sort of ties with these races, I would expect it would be the Sentinels go out, figure out what planets are habitable and have good resources, and then the races would go and land. Maybe they would have issues amongst themselves. Some of the Sentinels I've seen do look a little bit different, so I can imagine there being some sort of a service between them.
Maybe. I hadn't really thought about that.
And I remember in one of the interviews they asked if there is a god in this game, and Sean Murray sort of made the joke of maybe we're God, and it was
just had a
just a funny little
realization.
side joke. Yeah. And he was like, I think with like mind blown type of situation.
Yeah.
There's so many unanswered questions,
Oh.
and it may never be answered.
Probably won't ever be. Perhaps the biggest lore of No Man's Sky is to bear witness to the ability to overcome obstacles to achieve the seemingly impossible. Our book, our story, have many pages left to be filled.
Welcome home, Frodo.
You can't even say it.
Okay. It just fits in exactly with what you're saying.
It's perfect. But anyway, guys, that's been from me. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to check out much more No Man's Sky, anything that has to do with No Man's Sky, go to the No Man's Sky Gamer, because he has everything.
Including the kitchen sink.
Including the kitchen sink.
Why are you pushing me out the door?
I'm not pushing you out the door.
He's totally pushing me out the door, guys.
No, I'm not. No.
I'm near the door right now.
Nope. We definitely didn't do this sub for sub. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to hop in at the end of the video by myself to say that hope you guys enjoyed. And if you want more No Man's Sky, anything, go see No Man's Sky Gamer. If you're sick of my monthly uploads of No Man's Sky, trust me, go over to his channel. You'll find daily uploads of No Man's Sky. Everything from the lore, like we just talked about, all the way to creatures that could possibly be on planets of No Man's Sky. In fact, we did do a video together on his channel, so you want to check out more of me and us together, you can go check that out on him. It's called Creatures Something. You'll find it. But like I said about a million times, that's been for me. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later, explorers.